This is the story of Mom Water. The idea began when founders Bryce and Jill were on vacation. Jill discovered the resort's fruit-infused water and couldn't get enough. But as she sipped on her drink, inspiration struck. What if I added vodka to this?
Little did Jill Morrison know that vacation in the Dominican, sipping drinks by the pool, would lead to creating Mom Water, which has become so popular you can find it on store shelves in almost every state in America. Meet the Indiana couple from the small town of Ferdinand in southern Indiana, making big waves in the alcohol industry. On this edition of the Business and Beyond podcast, presented by PNC. And I'm pleased to be joined on the podcast this week by two Southern Indiana entrepreneurs, Bryce and Jill Morrison, the co-founders of Mom Water and now Dad Water. We'll get into that a little bit later in the discussion here. But Bryce and Jill, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Okay, give me the definition of what Mom Water is. Hard seltzers have been, I think, continue to be very popular in the marketplace. But this is not a seltzer. This is the anti-hard seltzer, right?
Yes, no bubbles here. It is a very lightly flavored water with a hint of vodka.
Yeah, we're basically calling it spirit water. We sit at an interesting place in the industry because we mistakenly created a new category of alcohol. It's not a seltzer, it's not a ready to drink cocktail, it's not a lemonade, it's not a tea, it's water. It is a spirit water. So you'll start seeing the original and number one spirit water along with a lot of our stuff because it's not every day, I guess, you get to create a category of alcohol.
Yeah, no kidding. And the way in which it happened, I think is awesome. And I think it's so many ideas or inventions are spawned in maybe unusual places. Talk about how the inspiration for Mom Water came about on a vacation to the Dominican Republic. Take us back to that moment that really sparked the idea.
Well, to your point, I was having seltzer fatigue, sugar fatigue. I could not drink another sugary, fruity drink. And that day I walked up to the bar and they had a nice glass pitcher of that fruit-infused water sitting there. And I took my cup and just asked the bartender, I said, can you just put a little vodka in this? Because I wanted to keep going with everyone, but could not do another. So fast forward, came back to the States, wanted to keep recreating that because I could not handle another seltzer and started home making it in water bottles. And then
Bryce, what did you think? Did you taste it?
I did. And I thought it was like, at first I was like, oh, okay. She kept talking about this water and I almost wouldn't shut up about it. She loved it, like just fell in love with it. And so we joked back and forth. I'm like, I'd try it. I'm like, yeah, I like it. And I'd probably go back to drinking something else. And then it hits you because to our point, you drink Mom Water probably because of the way it makes you feel. It is a different feeling because you're not as full. And so, yeah, when she started, she was having to write Mom on all of her water bottles around the house where she was making these because we do have 3 kids and we were trying to delineate between the Jill's Mom Water and the actual Dasanis that were in the house. So her friends actually coined the term Jill's Mom Water because she was always seen drinking out of a Dasani or something, Aquafina, that said Mom on it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So how did things really get going? You got back to Ferdinand in southern Indiana, which is just such a beautiful country in southern Indiana. What then? I mean, did you immediately say, hey, we're going to mass produce this, or did you taste test with some of the neighbors and friends?
I would say it was definitely reluctant. Jill, her and her friends were tasting it around our pool just inherently. They were like, what are you drinking? And they were drinking a seltzer and she's like, it's this water. And then they would try it. Jill's, kudos to her. She's the one that came up. We're sitting around one night. She's like, you know what? We should look at doing this. And I'm like, doing what? She said, well, I love drinking these waters. You can't find them anywhere. They're a pain to make. And we could even call it Mom Water. And I was like, that all sounds like a great idea, but no, like it seems like such an impossibility to create an alcohol brand. We were both in healthcare. We had no experience being entrepreneurs, none of that. And so it honestly took her 9 or 10 months of convincing me. And I think one day maybe I'd had a few too many Mom Waters or something, but it hit my ears different. And I was like, when they said Mom Water, I was like, I can legitimately see that on a shelf in a store as a brand. And I think that's really where it started to take off from there. Is like, okay, well, let's see what we can do and start digging around and doing a little research. And that's where it kicked off.
Jill, were you really excited about it? It sounds like you thought, hey, this could be something maybe really big. So what was your
feeling at the time? Sometimes people have ideas, they fade away, but this sounds like something you thought really could be good.
Well, the really big part hadn't entered my mind. I really just personally wanted to drink the product. I had no idea. I was hoping there would be other people out there like me, but had no idea how many. And it has really hopefully helped a lot of people.
Yeah, it turns out there's a lot of people that share Jill's either palate or it was honestly a gap or a problem in the industry, which was you had seltzers and they were really popular, but there wasn't an alternative that was not carbonated, right? So if you want, we're still to this day that we know of the only alcoholic drink in a can that is not carbonated and not sweet. Like that's the thing is you'll have a lot of non-carbonated drinks now, teas, lemonades, but every one of them is either artificially sweetened or actually has sugar. So they're sweet. They want to try to have big flavor. We were the opposite. We're like, we don't want sweet. We're more like the dry wine of the RTD world, right? You develop a palate for it, and then you start to go, I can't handle as much of the sweet wine after you start to drink dry wines. It's the same with mom water, really. It's almost a palate and then a feeling that you get where you're not full and bloated at the end of the day. You do have more water in your system. So yeah, it's interesting.
Okay, talk about the entrepreneurial journey. So you have the idea, you feel good about it, but as you say, you're creating essentially a new category in the alcohol world. What did you do? How did you go about it?
Honestly, I had a few connections. We had a bourbon group that I had started with some other guys over a decade ago. And so we had a few people we knew, at least in the alcohol industry, went to some buddies, a couple master distillers, pitched the idea thinking maybe their distillery will want to make it. They were like, great idea, just not a fit for our distillery, but they really like validated, I guess, where we were thinking that maybe it is an actual something there here for this product. And the first thing is like we found a guy and he mentioned a company in Louisville, Kentucky that's called Flavorman. A lot of people don't let the community know they work with Flavorman. They like to keep their secrets in. They're our best partner. We love Flavorman. So once we got in touch with them, they said, yeah, we can do this. They're a big beverage laboratory that can say they can try to take your proof of concept and tell you how to scale it and actually help with the formulation. So that's what kicked it off is once we found them, then we always say we stumbled forward. We would take 2 steps forward and then a step back. And we just started finding our way and networking and eventually we're able to bring it to market.
What do you remember and I'm sure in the entrepreneurial venture, you have lots of challenges as well. Was there one thing or the biggest challenge you faced that you can think about when things started to ramp up?
I mean, the biggest challenge right away before we ever even got to market was when we started was January 2020. And so going into COVID, we thought the hardest part originally would be making it, getting a formula. That turned out to be the easiest. Then we had to find a distributor. Well, and we thought that would be the hardest thing. Turns out the hardest thing to do for us was to actually find a place that fit our needs that could actually produce the product, because especially during COVID, because most of the small places that we needed to work with, because we couldn't afford to do massive orders, they all shut down that summer, if you remember, and they were making hand sanitizer. So all these small distilleries and every place that we needed to do were shut down. So it took us about a year of searching to try to find something there. So that was a massive deal for us trying to figure that out. And then after that, I mean, the issues were crazy. I mean, a lot of it just organically happened, and social media for us was the way we grew. And now, more and more, the bigger we get in our category, the more issues we face, because we find ourselves in the only category right now, the only subcategory in alcohol that's growing. Beer's down, bourbon, spirits, wine, everything is down other than one thing, which is liquor-based ready to drinks. And so therefore, everyone wants into our potential niche of the market.
Yeah. Obviously, as you've grown, you've learned the industry in a big way. Did Jill, I'll ask you too, but you can both weigh in. As you mentioned, were you both in healthcare previously? So, and really not entrepreneurial backgrounds, certainly not alcohol industry type backgrounds. Was that you could say it would be a challenge, but was it a positive to not have that background, or how did that play out?
We jokingly say both. It was a challenge and a positive because we don't act like the rest of the industry does in meetings. We try to maintain our unique culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say it really helped. Like we're to a point now where yes, it it's hugely beneficial to have folks on our team that have been in the industry. It's just more efficient, less training, things like that. But in the beginning, it was actually a very fresh perspective. And because we were just dumb enough to do things on our own and we didn't know, a lot of our distributor partners found that very refreshing. We would show up to them and go, you tell us what's going to work in your market. And they were like, wow, that's different, because most of the time it's a large company coming in with a plan and saying, this is what you're going to do. And so there was a lot of fresh perspectives there. I mean, we made our fair share mistakes and learned from them, but I think we were very different, and we still are in the market. And I think that's refreshing. And I think our audience has connected with that more than maybe some other brands.
Yeah, I want to give people an idea of your growth. Think back to maybe the first shipment or the first few shipments. How much product were you shipping out there in those very early days?
I believe our very first order in the state of Indiana was 750 cases.
Okay.
It's about 7 pallets. So, and then that sold out very quickly. So we actually had about 2,000 cases, I believe it was more, that were left over from that thankfully we had. And so then that got into the market a few weeks later, and then it sold out. So that was our original, is 750 cases was the original order. By the end of that year, we had actually sold around 38,000 cases just in Indiana and Kentucky. And just last year, we were just a hair under 1 million cases.
Wow, 1 million cases. That's some pretty substantial growth.
Very much so.
What'd you think? What'd you think those first few shipments and the reaction from consumers had to get you pretty excited, I would think.
Yeah, we both had a holy shit moment.
Yeah,
it worked and people are liking it. So
yeah, it was funny. Like, we were just stalking Facebook and everything else, right? We were trying to find all the people that would review it for good or for better, for worse, right? Because it is such a different product that you'd have your fair share of people, especially in the beginning, that were like, I don't get it. It's different. I don't like it. Just used to bubbles or sweet, right? So we were stalking all those reviews and we'd find them, and it was a blast.
Yeah. How do, in terms of your marketing now, how do you differentiate? Because you think of those seltzers, which you see everywhere. Is there brand confusion that you run into?
Occasionally, we still get the wait. Where's the bubbles? Even though we put no carbonation on there, people still expect a seltzer because that's all they've had as an option up until now.
Yeah. The funniest story that we had of that was out in Colorado. I think one of our reps said, "Yeah, I went to a store and the clerk was laughing. They were telling me that someone actually tried to return their variety pack and say, wait, it's flat. There's something wrong. There's no bubbles." Yeah. They thought it just went flat. We're like, no, that's the point.
Yeah. We'll talk about your footprint, your geographic reach, because as you mentioned, you started in Indiana and Kentucky, but you've obviously branched out a lot since then.
Yes, I believe we're keeping up here because we've officially announced a state, Alabama, this year we added. We've got another one we're getting ready to officially announce, and potentially another one. So we're right around the 39 states right now that we're in. A lot of national chains. We're national with Walmart, Target, Total Wine and More, Publix in Florida, Kroger, Meijer. Yeah. We've really we've grown almost opposite of what a lot of brands do. The national chains are the hardest ones to get. And a lot of brands will get into bars, and that drives trial. And then you grow from there. The chains picked us up early. Target, famously, their buyer was like, this product looks like it was made for us. We were like, yeah, that's a good shopper. And so, yeah, we've done the opposite. We've grown chains, and now our big goals, we're trying to almost work backwards a little bit and get into a lot of the bars.
Yeah, that's got to make you feel pretty good, because I was going to ask you the process for getting into the Walmarts and the Targets and the others, because it's not easy to do. I've heard all kinds of stories about folks. It can be a very daunting challenge, but for you guys, maybe not as much.
Yeah, that was surprisingly our first, who accepted us and maintaining shelf space with them. They want the product to move.
Yeah, we invested in some folks specifically to work on chains within our Mom Water team. And Erica was the first person, Erica Alba, that we hired in the chain side. And she has started to just lead in that division. Now we've since added 2 more. And our chain team is they're rock stars. They work tirelessly like all of our employees. We have such a close-knit family. It's amazing. So they really work hard, especially with some of our distributor partners on the chains. And once you get a little momentum in one and you can show them the numbers and the return, in these grocery stores, most of your shoppers are female demographic, right? And so our product just works really, really well there. There's probably places it doesn't work as well, but the grocery store chains and those national chains, we just tend to it makes sense in those stores.
Yeah. Much more ahead with Bryce and Jill Morrison, the co-founders at Mom Water. Prospect for new products. Could there be a dad water out there? We'll talk about that and a lot more when the Business and Beyond podcast returns. Stay with us.
At PNC Bank, we're committed to making a difference in the lives of our customers and communities by helping them move forward financially. As a Main Street bank, we try to do right by our customers with every encounter. Our local teams offer personalized financial advice to help guide you in making the best decision. We're proud to be part of your community. PNC Bank. See how we can make a difference for you at pnc.com. Copyright 2022, the PNC Financial Services Group, Inc., all rights reserved.
We build Indiana. The Laborers International Union of North America builds and maintains roads, bridges, and other essential infrastructure that make us the crossroads of America. So thanks to LIUNA members' work, Hoosiers have a better quality of life, like access to utilities, easier routes to jobs, schools, or medical care, and deliveries keep moving. We build Indiana for good jobs and stronger communities. The Laborers International Union of North America. We are LIUNA.
And welcome back to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. My guest this week, two Southern Indiana entrepreneurs who are really growing on a national basis. Bryce and Jill Morrison, the co-founders at Mom Water. I guess it's a fruit-infused vodka water. Is that a good description?
Yes.
Okay. And growing nationally, 38 states now, and they're going to be adding more. You all are in the small Dubois County town of Ferdinand. Talk about where you're out there, because it's beautiful country, very small, rural type setting. You wouldn't think Mom Water necessarily would be headquartered there.
Yeah, and there's probably still a lot of people in Ferdinand that don't realize we're very sneaky. Really, because of COVID, when we started, we're an all virtual company. So our home is still our world headquarters, and it's got its pros and cons, but the pros being we can hire people anywhere, give them a lot of benefit of working out of their home. We have a lot of moms that are part of the team. It's great. They can pick up their kids at school. We're very mom friendly, parent friendly, and but it's definitely doesn't go without its challenges. When you're all virtual, you have to really think outside the box and try to keep your company culture strong when you're not seeing everybody face to face every single day. So
yeah. As you look at the success of Mom Water, it's got to make you feel good. Always looking, I know most entrepreneurs are looking at new products, new things to do. So the obvious would be from Mom Water to Dad Water, right? And that's a reality. Talk about that, Bryce, and what really prompted the decision to do it and how that's going.
Yeah, so what prompted the decision, honestly, was a lot of feedback from consumers. They would always make the joke when we'd see them at a trade show. They'd say, "Where's Dad Water?" And I'd joke and I'd make a comment about that's beer or bourbon or something. And so finally we got it enough that we sat down and went, okay, well, if there was a product, what would it be? How would it be different and unique enough? Because the only thing really on the Mom Water side, we lean very heavy feminine on the Mom Water side. And we're like, a lot of guys my age who might not want to drink a skinny can that's pink, but they love the product. And so the concept was like, well, let's have a little fun with it and kind of that old school dad mentality and a little more masculine brand, something that if you were a light beer drinker, a bunch of my buddies do, but they wanted an alternative that's still light, easy on the flavor, and you can drink several of them, right?
Yep.
That's why you're drinking light beer. Scratches that itch a little bit. And so we went into development on the Dad Water brand. We wanted it to be retro. A lot of our fathers are the names on the cans. So that older generation that every generation, I joke, we're all a little softer than our parents and our grandparents.
Right.
So we harken back a little bit to the more fun, the earlier days. And so that's where the brand started. And we decided to go with tequila because it's a really popular brand that's surging. A lot of or alcohol or spirit. A lot of people want to get into tequila, but they don't really understand how. Like you're not going if you start throwing shots back at a bar, you're not going to be a tequila fan. You're not just going to start drinking it straight. And if you drink a margarita, it's really not about the tequila. Yeah. So that's where Dad Water, if it's a really cool niche, it's you don't have to like tequila, but it'll start to develop a palate in a positive way that makes you go, maybe I can try these.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned you're putting dad names on the cans, and Jill, talk about that because I didn't mention that earlier. All of the mom waters have names, right? How does that? I'm sure that's a cool little marketing ploy.
Yes, honestly, it wasn't my idea, but it's his.
That was mine.
But some of the moms on the cans are Rainham, and then the most recent mom releases are also our moms.
Okay.
So
The brand new one, our newest flavor that just dropped like maybe a month ago, is Louise. So that's Jill's mom. My mom's Kathy. She's on a can. Our partner John's mom, Mary. So we tried to bring in a little personality, make it a personal brand. We kept getting feedback like our fans really feel connected to us, our employees, our product. And we wanted to continue that, like lower the veil a little bit, lower the curtain, peek behind the scenes and be like, we're just real people. We show up to events all the time, have fun with all of our fans. So we felt like that was a cool personal touch.
How's the reception from consumers for Dad Water? How's that go? When did you launch?
So technically we launched in a few markets, a soft launch, I'd say a year and a half ago. And it's funny, we always say we take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, or we stumble forward. Dad Water was a bit of a stumble forward. We had 2 opposing forces. We had one, which was we would take Dad Water, we would do an event, we'd sample it, and it went like crazy. We'd sell out. It was very much like mom water. But we put it in a store and it would sit. People weren't finding the product. So this is when the category started getting really crowded. And we honestly just made some packaging fails on the outside of the box. It didn't say what it was. It didn't capture attention. Happens a lot. So this year we actually reinvested because we believe so much in the product. And we reinvested, completely repackaged our variety pack. We also added 6 packs of individual flavors. So now we have a more robust and easier to find product in the store. We hired internal resources to actually grow the brand, specifically just even outside mom water. And so we're seeing a lot better trends and traction already this early in the year, just with the new packaging in the market. So yeah, it was like, we had these 2 things. We know we got a good product. We know we got the good inherent branding, but there was a miss on the outside of the box.
Okay, you and I, we talked a bit before we started recording. I got to think that would be a good golf course drink, Dad Water, because I see guys out with the hard seltzers, the beer, it fills you up. I would think that would be, you have a good market maybe at some of the golf clubs.
Very much so. We, for the courses and the people that have figured out mom water and Dad Water as a golf course drink, yeah, it pays its dividends after a long day in the hot sun. It's just the carbonation, it dehydrates you. You're going to get a headache by the end of the day, especially the more you sweat. And with us, like we're at least, it's a bunch of water. Like it's a can of water with a shot of a liquor in it. That's basically what it is. So it is really nice. We actually partner with a golfer, Roger Sloan. He's on Korn Ferry this year. This is the hat, one of his hats. So golf is definitely an avenue for us. We've got some fun things this summer. We're going to be doing some different hole-in-one pop-ups across the nation. So yeah, it's something we're definitely leaning into. We actually just got Pop Stroke, which is like it's Tiger Woods' putting. We actually just got national placement with them, and there's only 4 can brands that got placement with them, and we just did. So like the golf community is starting to see it. There are pro golfers that are big fans. We know that for a fact. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
How do you stay creative and continue? Because obviously you both just didn't create something and then just let it ride. You're continually, you have to look at what is working, what's not working, and continue to evolve, I should say. How do you do that? How do you stay creative in what is a very competitive marketplace?
That is definitely not an issue for me.
The ideas never stop.
No. I said my title should be professional idea generator. It's how my brain works. Like we always joke, Jill is the more organized one of us. Jill is the one that keeps us on track. If something's important, we need to be on set. Like that's all Jill. I'm very right brain. So I'm very, very creative, not always the most organized in the world. That's why my sister is our CEO. She is the best of both worlds. But yeah, honestly, I don't know. Like it's how my brain works. I'm thinking about things 24/7, whether it's ideas, generation, brainstorm sessions, or just where I get my energy. And I am a talk to thinker. I'm not a think to talker. So Jill will hear me talking. She's like, who you talk to? I'm like, I'm just talking to myself.
It's the running joke around our team that please tell me you're recording everything that he says. I'm like, well, I would record all day long. He just keeps going. And
That's good. Yeah. So do ideas just pop? Because I'm a little bit that way too. In the middle of the night, maybe something pops into your head or in the weirdest places, and you think about things that kind of click.
Yeah, like we'll be driving a lot. We go to events and we drive to a lot of them. And we'll just be like, I don't know, we haven't said any words in half an hour. And all of a sudden I'll come up with something completely out of left field. And she'll be like, where did that even come from? I'm like, it's just what I've been going through in my head for the last 30 minutes. So it just jumps from one thing to the next and trying to figure it out. And I think problem solving is fun to me. And at the same time, we're trying to solve the problem in our industry to go, well, what engages consumers? What are they looking for? You're almost trying to predict the future. You're trying to say, what are the trends going to be in 3 to 5 years? And we honestly think we just lucked into being on this trend. And I still think that the trend we're on is something that you're going to see get even more popular in the next 2 to 3 years, which is cleaner, non-carbonated, and less sweet RTDs.
As we kind of wind down here, let's talk about that because obviously you've been on a roll. You feel like there's a very positive future out there. How do you look at, from a growth standpoint, for Mom Water? I think you said 38 states now. I'm sure you want to grow that. Talk about kind of growth plans and what you're looking at.
Yeah, so we're right at a 1 million case brand. I think nationally, of all the brands out there, there's thousands of them. We're around 12th. Nationally in terms of size, but High Noon being at the top, they do around 22 to 23 million cases. Big gap. For us, we honestly think we have the runway to be the uncarbonated High Noon, the non-sweet sessionable RTD that's clean. And that's the other part of us that's a little unique. We're not just driven by growth. I mean, we like this as a long-term play. A lot of family and friends and everybody on our team we care about at this point in time. So we're not looking to just bump the numbers up and turn around and flip it and we're off and running and see you later. Like, we actually think we have something pretty cool that we can create a legacy for Indiana, for Ferdinand, for our kids, our family, our friends. And so we're just trying to we would love slow, steady growth for the next decade. That we have lots of innovations on the way within Mom Water, within the portfolio, maybe other things. So we're having fun just trying to see if we can compete with the big players. And so far we have, and I think we've just had nothing but runway.
Well, Bryce and Jill Morrison, it's been really great to catch up with you and hear of your success. It's a great story that continues to grow in southern Indiana, Ferdinand, DuBois County near Jasper in southern Indiana. Really happy for your success, and we'll be following it. And I'm going to go to my golf club and tell them to get some of that dad water too. So you can come up here to Old Oakland Golf Course in Indianapolis.
100%. I'm in.
All right. Hey, thank you both very much. I wish you nothing but success, and I look forward to catching up maybe a year or so down the road, see how things are going.
Anytime. We always appreciate the opportunity, and we love the support. Indiana, being from Indiana is amazing. I have resources like this and people that care about people that to start stuff from Indiana. So it's always a pleasure.
All right. Bryce and Jill Morrison, the co-founders of Mom Water and now Dad Water as well. Great to have you on the podcast. And thank you for joining us on this episode of the Business and Beyond podcast. We're a weekly conversation presented by PNC that focuses on successful business people, achievers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. And you can download all of our episodes, more than 200 episodes, and get Indiana business news 24/7. All you have to do is go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com. I'm Gary Dick. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Get ready for full throttle coverage as we shift into high gear for Business at the Brickyard, presented by LiUNA with support from the City of Westfield and Daniel's Family Vineyard and Winery. We're giving you the inside track on the powerful connection between motorsports and the Indiana economy. Join us at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for exclusive interviews, behind-the-scenes access, and the stories that drive the business of motorsports. So buckle up and join us for Emmy Award-winning Business at the Brickyard coverage all month long.